My child, so many moments in your day seem totally ordinary. But in the unseen world, those exact moments are when you stand before a door I quietly opened for you long ago. You might think it is just a passing thought, a soft whisper in your heart, or a gentle nudge you cannot explain. But actually, it is the soft knock of destiny calling you to step forward. Your future is not a heavy sentence hanging over you waiting to drop. Destiny is a warm invitation, a table already set for you. But I will not drag you to your seat if you do not reach out. I never force your destiny. I simply invite you in. Maybe you worried that if I planned your path, you would just be dragged along, having no real voice in your own life story. But my child, because I truly value your soul, destiny does not run like a machine. It blooms like a living conversation. I come close not to force my way, but to gently ask, do you want to walk with me? And you are always free to answer. In those quiet answers, your true path begins to take shape. You often think that because I am almighty, I should just change everything with a single thought. Like flipping a switch to turn on the lights. You wish I would just erase every broken piece, wipe out every risk, and push away incoming tragedies with one single word spoken from heaven. But hear me, I do not write your future through my power alone. I do it by working with your heart. Not because I lack power, but because I respect your free will and your ability to choose love. If I did everything without your heart agreeing, you would not be a partner in my love. You would be a machine. I do not seek beautiful outcomes just to show off. I look for a heart that listens, trusts, and dares to step out. When you say yes to small invitations, you are not just obeying a rule. You are laying down a stone on the path we will walk together. And when you stay silent, drag your feet, or lock your heart, I will never force my way. I simply stand and wait. That is why some blessings that should have bloomed by now are still sitting as quiet seeds. Not because I forgot you, but because I will not enter a room your heart keeps locked. My child, do not view your future as some complex puzzle you have to solve, but as a living bond we build day by day. I do not write your life as a strict script you have to perform. I compose your life like a song waiting for your harmony. With every small choice to trust and step toward me, you add your own note to the melody I started. When you choose to forgive instead of holding a grudge, you tune your heart to harmonize with my voice. When you pause to listen instead of rushing, you step away from the world's chaotic noise and into the peaceful rhythm of your true purpose. Destiny does not hit you like a sudden storm. It grows like a garden watered by your quiet trust. Day after day, I invite you to take one honest step toward me, so that my plan for your life stops being just words in the spiritual world and becomes actual breath. Real footsteps, real choices, and real hope in the daily life you live. Once you see this, you will stop waiting for some massive dramatic moment to change your entire life. You will realize that every single moment already holds my gentle invitation. Maybe you have told yourself that since heaven has already decided, nothing you do really matters. Those words might sound humble, but they actually steal your privilege of working with me. I never created you to sit back as a spectator while I do everything. I made you so we could carry the load together, build side by side, and bring my goodness to the quiet corners of your world. When you give up and let passivity and defeat take over, or let spiritual numbness rule your life, you hand your story over to forces that are not mine. I will not force you out of that comfort zone, but I will never stop calling you. I call you through quiet thoughts of change, and through the discomfort you feel when you settle for less than what you know is true. Through that quiet ache in your spirit every single time you agree to compromises that dim your inner light. These nudges are not meant to shame you. They are here to wake you up from the trap of fate, reminding you that I still wait for your reply. Your destiny is not defined by what others did to you, nor is it chained down by your past mistakes. Your true path unfolds day by day in how you answer my call right now. My child, I am not asking for perfect strength or flawless faith. Just a heart that is willing to say yes, even when you do not fully understand. I do not throw you headfirst into your future like someone tossed into a river. I reach out my hand and wait for you to take it. I know you carry deep wounds and heavy fears that make you doubt every single invitation, even mine. I know there were moments you thought you really believed. You took a step forward, but then you stumbled. Now you hesitate at the doorway, afraid to move. But my child, this is no gamble. I am calling you into deep connection. The destiny I promise is not about worldly success or making you look important. It is a journey where your soul slowly aligns with my perfect will. And when you are aligned, every other detail falls into place. You do not need to see the whole road ahead. You only need enough trust to take one more step. As we walk together, a destiny built on fear retreats, and a destiny shaped by love slowly comes into view. See this future as a path we share, not a heavy sentence hanging over you. You will feel lighter, and you will move with gentle reverence through every tiny choice. Sometimes you might think that walking with me means you must do massive things, changing overnight, proving your devotion to me, and then you start straining to reach standards you cannot meet, comparing yourself to some perfect imaginary version of holiness. But my child, our journey does not start with strength. It starts with the direction of your heart. Like a fragile sprout pushing through the soil knowing nothing about the science of light. It does not measure its distance to the sky. It simply leans toward warmth. It does not grow because of a command or because it wants to show off. It stretches because deep down it knows that without reaching for the source of light, it will wither. Your soul is the same. It is not built to connect with me through empty religious performances, but through one quiet motion turning toward me. Every time you stop staring at your fears and look instead at my deep goodness. Every time you stop worrying about what others think and quietly ask what my will is right now, you bend like a sprout seeking the sun. No one else hears that quiet bend, but the spiritual world notices it instantly, and your path begins to shift toward the direction your heart has chosen. My child, you often assume that if you want to partner with me, you need an unbreakable will, that you must promise never to waver and then exhaust yourself trying to keep those vows. But your own will, when it tries to carry every heavy burden alone, will quickly burn out, and your heart, when forced to fake passion, will soon grow weary. I never asked you to prove yourself. I am simply inviting you to let me guide the inner direction of your heart. Look back at your recent days, not to beat yourself up, but to notice those quiet, tiny moments in your soul, like a fragile leaf hesitating between sunlight and shadow. When you cling to bitterness instead of letting me comfort you, you turn yourself back toward the darkness. When you feed negative thoughts about yourself or others, you lean on a false light that can never nourish your soul. But every time you whisper, "I do not know what to do, but I want to trust you," when you simply pause and breathe in my presence, your soul turns back to the true light. Your will does not have to be perfect. It just needs to be willing to turn around when you notice you have drifted away from the source of life. My child, we do not walk together by your own strength. Your strength has limits, but we connect through a heart that simply knows how to respond. Responding is not about doing endless religious tasks to prove your devotion. It is about noticing my gentle whispers throughout your ordinary days. Sometimes it is just a quiet nudge to forgive a little faster, to stay quiet instead of reacting quickly, to step out of an old habit that is slowly drying out your soul. To others, these might seem like insignificant tiny changes, but in the spiritual world they are massive shifts. Wherever your heart turns, your destiny flows. When you choose to turn your heart toward me, even if your daily circumstances remain unchanged, the deep current of your life is already leaving the muddy waters behind, merging quietly into the flow of my perfect will. You cannot see all of this right now, just as a fragile sprout cannot foresee the massive tree it will become. Every small yes, every gentle turn toward me is shaping something far beyond your understanding. Do not confuse walking with me with checking off a list of religious duties. I do not count your prayer hours or scripture reading like a scorecard to trade for blessings. I simply look at where your heart is pointing. There are days you do many good things, yet your heart is full of pride and inner tension. In those moments, you might look like you are reaching upward, but the reality is, the fragile green shoot inside can easily bend toward the fake light of self-righteousness. Other days, you can only manage a whispered, weak prayer, just reading a single verse of my word, just holding on to one quiet act of kindness. Still, your heart softens before me, ready to learn, and that is when your soul turns fully toward the real light. Outward displays do not impress me. I am moved by a quiet, sincere turn of your heart. When you stop trying so hard to force your own spiritual growth and simply humble yourself, letting me become the source that carries you, you will find that walking with me is like letting your roots drink from a deep underground stream, no longer standing alone in the scorching heat trying not to fall. My child, there are times when you feel like you are barely moving forward. It feels like your future is completely frozen and my promises are miles away. During those dark moments, the enemy whispers that trying to come back to me is useless. He whispers that your prayers change absolutely nothing and this is all your life will ever be. But listen, every tiny turn of your heart toward me matters. A small fragile sprout never actually sees itself grow day by day, but every morning it reaches a bit higher simply because it kept turning toward the sun. The same is true for your soul when you keep choosing me in the small things. You are quietly shifting the boundaries of your old life. I do not change your future through my power alone, but in partnership with your heart. I do not want a beautiful ending if you are not part of it. Every time you choose to trust rather than doubt, every time you choose to keep going instead of giving up, every time you open up to me instead of hiding behind your walls, your future shifts just a tiny bit more. The day is coming when you will look back and realize those quiet little choices carried you far away from the chains you thought you could never break. So many people believe their lives are already written, sealed shut like a finished book. They think every word is set in stone and they just have to follow the script. To them, destiny is a cold block of stone, hard, unfeeling, unable to bend, talk, or ever change. But my child, I do not write your life in rigid ink. I weave it with every small decision you make, just as the scripture says. I knit you together in your mother's womb, not assembling you from standard factory pieces, but like an artist who patiently and gently places every single thread right where it belongs. Your life is not some rigid wall. It is woven like a beautiful fabric, soft, flexible, carrying the unique breath and rhythm of your soul. Once you realize this, you will stop asking, am I supposed to do something massive to change my fate? No, you will simply ask, what small step we can take together today. I do not sit alone deciding your entire story while you watch from the outside, completely left in the dark. I have a beautiful design, yes, but it is only completed when you offer me the smallest threads of your day. When you choose forgiveness over holding a grudge, you hand me a bright, beautiful thread. When you choose to come back instead of running away, another strand is added to the frame. When you choose trust over complaining, I gently pull that thread through to join the rest. No one else sees these quiet shifts. Nobody applauds when you add another delicate strand. But I see it, I know it, and I adjust the rhythm of our work based on your heart. I will never take this work out of your hands because I have chosen you to create this with me. I know there are days when you shake, when you lose the beat and the thread tangles like it is about to snap. I do not blame you. I simply stand right beside you, waiting for you to hand that thread back to me so we can keep weaving the beautiful parts of your life that are still unfinished. My child, so many people live in constant disappointment because they think small choices do not matter. They waste time waiting for massive events, destined encounters, and flashy opportunities, believing only those big moments can define their future. But your destiny is not drawn in thick, broad strokes. It is made of countless tiny threads, almost invisible to the eye. You do not suddenly become patient just because you feel calm one morning. You learn patience every time you stay quiet instead of snapping back. You do not become kind from just one grand gesture. You learn kindness through soft words and hidden deeds. You do not build faith through a single miracle. You develop true faithfulness by keeping your heart focused on me during the dry seasons. These quiet choices are not exciting or flashy, and they do not show immediate results, but they run deep. They anchor your soul to my will. As they grow strong, your true destiny unfolds like an unbreakable fabric. Sometimes you look back at your life and sigh, wondering why nothing has changed yet. Why is my destiny still stuck in shades of gray? Yet you do not realize you are quietly weaving dim threads into your own foundation. Every time you choose doubt over trust, you pull another dark thread into the design. Whenever you let bitterness sleep in your heart for a single night, another thread slips in. But I do not blame you for this. I will not tear your whole life apart to make you start over. I only ask that you place that thread in my hands. When you surrender control, I begin to weave bright, hopeful strands right into the darkest areas of your life. I do not erase your past by ignoring it. I turn it into a solid foundation so new threads can take root even deeper. I do not construct your life with cold metal and nails. I weave your days like a patient craftsman. I do not shape your destiny with a heavy hammer, but through gentle nudges when your heart responds to mine. My child, I am not looking for speed, just consistency. A single thread placed in the right spot each day builds something far more lasting than dozens pulled in a frantic rush. When you walk with me through small choices, you partner with the one who has known and shaped you from the start. I know exactly which thread fits your current season. I know the weak spots that need strengthening. I know which color will brighten what is already made. You do not need to see the final design to trust the next step. You only need to keep an open heart and quietly ask me, what step do you want me to take today? And when you surrender that thread to me, your destiny slips out of its old pattern and begins to take a new shape. Not a life built on fear or giving up, but the path of a soul breathing in perfect sync with mine. You are not trapped in a story written by this world. Together we are building a life that no force can tear apart. We often fall for the deep illusion that destiny is just a mountain. We have to be strong enough, brave enough, or lucky enough to climb. And then suddenly your life will turn to an entirely new chapter. So you push yourself to climb, to conquer, and to wait for that big moment of breakthrough. But the further you go, the more you feel stuck at the bottom, repeating the same old painful patterns. My child, destiny is not a summit. It does not wait at the very end. It is found in every moment you return. It takes shape every time you turn back to me, just like a river is not born from one stream, but from millions of tiny drops. And only when those drops flow together in the same direction does a river truly form. Your soul is exactly the same. True purpose does not come from one grand choice, but from countless quiet moments of returning to me. Every return is a single drop. It seems small, but it is never wasted. Gather enough drops and they create a powerful current. You often crave some massive sign to believe your life is actually changing, a dramatic, undeniable miracle, a sudden turning point that rewrites your story in a single day. You want the mountain peak as proof you are on the right path. But my child, those big moments are just the combined results of thousands of small steps I silently guided you through. Like a rushing river, no single drop asks, do I matter? It just flows forward, and the river of grace appears when you choose forgiveness, even while your heart is trembling. When you stay silent under offense instead of striking back, that is a drop. Choosing peace is a drop. When you pause and rest in my presence, even when you feel absolutely nothing, that is a drop. When you whisper a simple prayer like, keep me close, that is a drop. These moments do not make noise, and they do not glitter. They will not impress the world, but they shape your destiny. Just like hidden springs nourish a massive forest without recognition. Stop chasing destiny as some grand destination where people look at you and say you finally made it. Your destiny is a daily path of obedience. It is not entered through applause, but through the quiet yes that only you and I can hear. Every yes is a step back to me after you have wandered off, like a tiny root digging deep into dry soil, or a fragile leaf reaching for the sun while the wind tries to snap it. You do not help me by being constantly strong. You cooperate by never giving up on returning. When you stumble or fall during daily tests, but still gently return to me, know this: I value that quiet return far more than a single heroic effort. No one ever builds a river with just a single rainstorm. Rivers are formed by steady rains, quiet waters, and a consistency that no dry season can parch. Sometimes you wonder, can something this small really change my life? I have come back 100 times. Why has destiny not shown itself yet, my child? A river doesn't notice itself growing with every single drop. It just flows. Only after enough time passes do people finally recognize it as a river. Your soul is no different. Coming back again and again carves a channel, clearing out old sediment and breaking up rigid thoughts. I do not build a destiny in a single night, because what you gain in a night can vanish in a night. I shape your path through steady steps so it becomes who you are, not just something you did. When you return time after time, even without seeing any outward change, you are doing something deeply profound. You are sweeping away the soil of pride and fear, and your heavy reliance on raw emotion, so the current I placed inside you can find its way. There is no rigid rule here. I don't reward you based on how often you return, nor do I grade your diligence. I only look for a soul willing to let me soften it. A river never threatens, it simply flows. And that gentle, steady movement is what coaxes the hard earth to move aside and make room. The destiny inside you is no different. It doesn't force you, it doesn't scold you, and it doesn't push. It simply calls you to return time after time until coming back becomes second nature. Then you stop hunting grand goals and chasing mountaintops, and you no longer wait around for miracles. You just walk quietly where I lead. And one day you'll realize that your destiny has become the very heartbeat of your life. Not because you conquered the world, but because you learned to live in a state of constant return. And my child, it is the souls who know how to return whom I trust with my deepest secrets. There are souls who wait for their destiny like someone frozen on the edge of a cliff, straining their eyes for that one perfect moment to leap to the other side, believing a single flawless leap will change everything. They wait for a golden hour, some supernatural sign, or a mighty wind from heaven. But my child, destiny is never the leap. It is the quiet consistency of keeping your eyes on me. Not reckless courage, but an enduring gaze. Not one shining moment, but each steady breath of trust. Destiny does not unlock with a burst of effort, but through thousands of tiny glances. Each glance is a soft declaration in your heart whispering, I choose you. Remember the story of Peter on the water. I walked on those waves, not because his legs were strong, but because his eyes were locked on me. When people speak of that miracle, they usually picture the exact moment his feet stepped onto the open sea. But the true miracle didn't lie in his leap from the boat. It lay in his steady focus. While he looked at me, the deep water was no longer an abyss. The howling wind ceased to be a threat, and the rising waves no longer controlled his steps. But the moment he looked away at the wind, at the roaring noise of the world and his own rising fear, he began to sink. Not because I had changed my mind, but simply because his eyes had shifted focus. Your destiny won't collapse from weakness, but from looking away from me. You often search for strength in your own legs, but I tell you to find strength in your eyes. On days when you feel sluggish, as if you aren't making any progress at all, you sigh and think, I have done nothing for my future. But my child, souls growing into their calling do not mature through massive leaps, but by holding a steady gaze. Every time you turn your eyes from the noise of the crowd to look at me, you steer your life away from the whirlpool. Every time you choose quiet when people misunderstand you, not because you're weak, but because you know my truth outlasts the noise of this world. You weave another strong thread into the fabric of your destiny. Every time you softly whisper, "Keep me close to you," even when you feel absolutely nothing, you pour another drop into the river. I have already prepared. No one hears the current, but I do. No one sees the valley slowly filling, but I see it. I know where true loyalty rests, and I will use your steady gaze as the bedrock of your destiny. People say a single moment can change your life. I tell you, a moment only unlocks the door, but it is your steady gaze that keeps you inside. That quiet persistence is like a farmer tending his field daily, never expecting instant harvest, just sowing seeds, watering the soil, and heading home in total peace. Others might say nothing is happening, yet every day the soil softens, roots dig deeper, and seeds grow stronger underneath. Destiny doesn't bloom from one sudden breakthrough, but from a daily rhythm that refuses to quit. Stop trying to leap ahead into a brand new chapter. Be patient and write each line with me. I don't need any grand performances. I only want eyes that refuse to look away when the storms rise. My child, one day you'll truly understand. Destiny belongs to those who turn back to me, not just those who can leap the farthest. People only focus on Peter sinking and needing a rescue. They only see his failure and grace. But I see something else, a brave soul who actually stepped out of the boat. He did not do it to show off his strength. He proved that walking in your destiny starts with your focus, not your feet. So if you feel weak today, if your heart is trembling and you cannot take a giant leap, know this: you do not have to jump. You just have to look at me. When your eyes are fixed on mine, you are already walking in your divine destiny. Even if you are still standing in a place that feels completely ordinary, I guide your focus before I direct your steps. True purpose is not for those who leap the farthest, but for those who turn their eyes back to me again and again. Sometimes you wonder why a God who can silence the wind and calm the sea does not instantly stop your wrong turns. You ask me, if you know I will stumble, why not block every temptation? You see that I am about to fall. Why do you not just pull me back from the edge? But my child, I do not guide you by stripping away who you are. I have the power to force change, but I choose to protect your free will. If I forced you to obey, you would no longer be yourself. You would just be an empty shell following orders. I do not want robots. I want hearts that choose me. Free will is a gift I gave you because I know how precious it is. I will never take it back, even when it slows down your journey. Even when it means I must wait for you through many seasons. Think of a master musician holding an instrument. When a note goes flat, he does not grab the instrument from his student, snap the strings, or claim it is useless. Instead, he leans in, touches the strings, and turns the pegs gently. Just a tiny adjustment is all it takes to bring the sound back into harmony. He does not replace the musician. He simply tunes the instrument so they can keep playing. My child, I do the exact same thing. I do not snatch the instrument away whenever you hit a wrong note. I place my hand on the strings of your heart, sometimes using quiet moments to make you reflect. Other times I whisper to your thoughts or use a situation that forces you to slow down. But I have never broken your instrument. I do not want to stop the music. I want you to learn to play beautiful melodies in harmony with me. Some people live as if I should always stand behind them, stopping every bad thing before it happens and fixing their choices so they never make mistakes. Like a toddler who expects a parent to clear every single obstacle from the path before they step. But my child, if I took away every choice just to guarantee success, your life's destiny would no longer belong to you. It would just be a hollow path that I forced you to walk. Your soul would stand on the sidelines as a mere spectator, never learning to grow, never learning to love or trust. Love cannot grow where there is no freedom. True connection cannot happen without consent. I respect you so deeply that I am willing to slow down for you. When you return, I move faster. When you hesitate, I wait patiently. When you wander off, I adjust, but I never throw you away. Every missed note becomes an opportunity I use to guide you into a much deeper, more beautiful melody. Sometimes you think that because I do not perform an instant miracle, I do not care. But that slow pace is exactly how I protect your freedom. I do not want your obedience to come from fear. I want you to choose me even when you have other options. I do not want you coming back to me only out of desperation. I want you to return because you truly trust me. I do not want you to leave the darkness just because you feel forced. I want you to choose the light because you know your soul can only truly thrive in me. Your destiny is never forced on you. Think of it as a song where I write the bass line and you compose the melody. I set the tempo, but you play the notes. I will never define you by your failures, but I do want you to learn to hand the instrument back to me whenever things go wrong. My child, write this on your heart. Your destiny is not my overwhelming power crushing your human weakness. Destiny is a beautiful partnership between my will and your heart. If I only used raw power, your life would just be a script. But when you freely answer me, when you let me adjust every single rhythm, every string and every quiet pause, your life becomes a masterpiece. It may not look perfect to the world, but it is complete to me. You chose to walk with me, my child, and that free choice makes heaven celebrate. Because no melody is more beautiful than a soul that willingly sings in harmony with the Creator who gave it life. Some people think that walking with me requires some grand performance, demanding endless preparation, or prayers filled with formal words, sophistication, and length. They wait for a perfect setting, an altar-prepared total silence, and a completely purified mind. They think I only enter when everything is perfectly holy. But my child, I do not need a door swung wide open. I only ask for a tiny crack where light can slip through. You work with me the moment you let that sliver open. It might just be a whispered prayer inside your heart. Words that never cross your lips, with no grand rituals or impressive show. Just the quiet pulse of a soul wanting to drop its heavy burden. I hear those prayers better than any grand song or passionate speech. I slip through those tiny cracks where your faith is still fragile but still enough to welcome me in. Sometimes you feel like you have to be completely ready before I can move. You tell yourself, when things calm down, when I am less exhausted, when I get stronger spiritually, then I will seek you. But my child, I do not wait for you to be perfect. I come in when you let me touch your weakness. Just like a tiny crack in the ceiling lets the light in. Even when your sky is overcast, I do not wait for you to become a saint. I only wait for you to be honest enough to whisper, "Help me." That tiny moment is all the opening I need. Nobody else knows it happened. Nobody sees you bow your head. No one hears a sound. But I feel the quiet tremor of your soul, and I step into places you never thought I could reach. You often worry because you do not know how to pray the right way. You fear saying the wrong words or not sounding spiritual. You worry you are not worthy to be heard. But my child, I do not listen with ears, I listen with my heart. I do not need a ritual to make your prayer real. I only ask for honesty. A mother does not need her child to speak in perfect sentences to know they are hurting. And I do not need you to fit some perfect mold for me to see your pain. When you whisper, "Stay with me," or simply think, "Do not abandon me," you are opening a crack in the defensive walls around your soul. Those walls might be thick, built up over many years, but even a tiny crack lets me step into your darkest corners. I will not tear down your wall. I simply step through the small opening you allow me to touch. So many people wait for miracles to strike with blinding brilliance, like lightning cutting through the dark. But my child, I come like the dawn, quietly, without a show, gently lighting the horizon until the darkness has to run. Walking with me is not some reckless leap of faith. It is just a tiny daily habit of saying yes. When you sit down at night and whisper, "I am exhausted, but you know my path," I hear that as an invitation. When you handle a hard conversation and quietly pray, "Keep your peace inside me," I see that as a door. When worry pulls you down, but you still whisper, "I do not want to drift away," I take that as a bridge. You do not have to understand everything to pray. I only ask you to keep that one narrow gap open. Just open it over and over again. My child, if I forced you to throw the door wide open, you would shake with fear and never come close. But when I only ask for a tiny crack, you realize that working with me is not a grand chore, but a humble yes. You might ask, how do I know if I have opened enough? I tell you, when prayer stops being a performance and becomes like breathing. When you pray not to prove your worth, but just to survive. When you bring me raw, fractured pieces of yourself instead of polished words. That is when the tiny crack becomes a door. I will never storm into your life. I will step in like a soft beam of light, slipping through the smallest crack. And once I am inside, the darkness cannot hide. Some people think that walking with me must be proven with loud public declarations, big displays that force everyone to look at them and say, "You have changed." They assume faith only matters when it is huge, impressive, and feels like a massive victory. But my child, our connection is a quiet scent in the air, not promises made to a crowd. I am not looking for loud voices in the streets. I search for the quiet moments in empty rooms where your soul speaks to me in whispers no one else can hear. That quiet agreement is what shifts your destiny, because it comes deep from your roots, not from a desire to be noticed. Think of a farmer during planting season. He does not stand in the town square shouting about his future harvest. He does not need to prove to a crowd that he trusts the seed. He simply bends down and touches the soil. Quietly, out of sight, he places each tiny seed deep into the dark earth. All his real work happens away from the spotlight, with no applause. Just a quiet trust between him and the ground. You are no different. Your soul works with me just like that sowing farmer. You do not need to advertise your faith to the world. What matters is whether you have the peace to place each seed into my hands. The seeds of obedience, forgiveness, returning, and gentleness. All of them are sown in secret, and that quiet hidden place is the ground I cherish most. I do not look for loud promises, but for quiet actions planted in deep trust. Some say, once I decide, I will announce it to everyone. But what your soul does in secret is far stronger than any public declaration. Public declarations only create echoes, and echoes never feed your roots. Roots only grow in the dark. That is why people who live by talk are always so exhausted. But those who live in silence remain steadfast. Public promises force you to prove yourself, while silent devotion only asks you to return. Making announcements forces you to defend your pride. Inner agreement keeps your heart soft. I do not need you building monuments to prove your strength. I only ask you to whisper to me with words that never even leave your lips. I choose you today. Every time you whisper this in secret, the unseen world takes note. My child, I know the temptation to show off. You want others to see your change. You want the world to witness that you chose me. You want proof to protect yourself from doubt. But whatever sprouts in hidden soil grows far deeper than anything sown on a stage. A farmer does not sow in the public square. He plants where the earth can embrace the seed, allowing it to break apart, die, and live again. Your destiny is the same. It is not born from public displays, but from those quiet moments where you let your ego die a little, allowing my true life to take root. When you forgive without expecting gratitude. When you choose silence instead of fighting back. When you return to me, even if nobody knew you wandered off. That is when you plant seeds more valuable than any public declaration. Do not worry that I will overlook your efforts if you do not announce them. I see everything, but I do not reward noise. I reward decisions made in peace, not in a spectacle, only in peace. True faith is not about reporting for validation, but opening your heart to my presence. You do not have to prove to the world that you belong to me. I only ask that you know you are mine in the quiet room where only the two of us exist. When your devotion is silent, my presence deepens in that quiet light. Destiny stops being a goal to conquer and becomes a flow from your heart. Quiet, enduring, and untouched by the eyes of the world. My beloved child, there are times when you think that to change you I must resort to harshness, a painful crisis, a heavy rebuke, or a punishment that scares you into turning back. You imagine I must grab your soul and shake it hard to wake you up. But my child, I do not correct you with a whip. I guide you with the gentleness of my presence. I do not view you as a lazy apprentice who has to be beaten to learn a lesson. I see you as a beautiful instrument I love, an instrument that simply needs tuning so your life can resonate with your true purpose. You do not tune a musical instrument with a hammer, but with a gentle ear. The artist never strikes a faulty string. They tilt their head, they listen, and they turn each peg so gently that you cannot even see it. I do the exact same. I do not force you into perfection. I draw close to you with a presence that heals and transforms your heart from within. Remember this, even a beautiful, precious instrument, one that once made the most beautiful music, can still drift out of tune over time. Not because it is broken, and not because it betrayed its musician. It happens because the environment changes, the air grows dry, and unseen pressure burdens the strings. Your soul is no different. There are dry seasons, tense days, and heavy moments when you feel completely stretched by worries, constant accusations, and wounds that nobody else sees. You think it is your fault. You beat yourself up saying, I am weak, I am terrible, I am unworthy. But my child, I do not stand over you with a whip to strike the strings that drifted. I quietly hold you close and listen. I listen to the true sound of your soul, not the voice you show the world, but the deep tone revealed only when you are tired. Then I restore you not through pain or humiliation, but with a soft, gentle reminder, an unexplained peace, a quiet warmth drawing you back to me. Sometimes you wonder, why do I not feel your punishment? Why do I not see your anger when I fail? You expect me to shout and warn you. But my child, loud voices only reach the ears, not the soul. I adjust you with my presence because only presence can reach where you hide from the world. When you stumble, I do not want you to fear me. I want you to run straight into my arms. Just like a damaged instrument does not run from the maker, but yields to his hands to be beautifully tuned once again. I don't need to punish you to prove my power. I let my love do what fear never could, soften your heart until you willingly turn back to me, remembering the beautiful tune I placed inside your soul. Think of a master musician. They don't tune an instrument by sight, but with an ear trained over time. They tilt their head. They catch faint vibrations others miss. And with the gentlest turn, maybe just a tiny fraction of a circle, the string finds its perfect harmony again. I do the same. I hear the quiet vibrations you cannot name. The hidden worry, the secret envy, the letdowns you're afraid to face. I don't wait for you to confess everything before I step in to help. I listen to your soul the way a master musician listens to every single string. When I begin to tune, you might not even notice. You just feel a strange peace, a softening in your mind, or a whisper so gentle. Don't push it away. Just let go now. Come back home. That is my hand touching your strings, my child. I don't fix an out-of-tune string by ripping it out and replacing it. I don't erase who you are to build a different soul. And I never use pain to force you into shape. I hold you the way a musician handles a precious instrument, knowing its deep value, remembering how beautiful it once sounded and knowing how easily it can sing again with the right touch. You are never just a broken soul to me. You are the melody, and I'm still writing the song. When I adjust you, I'm not fixing a broken product. I'm simply finishing my masterpiece. And here's the beautiful truth: as you grow, you'll see that my gentlest touches are the ones that change you the deepest. Not because you're afraid, but because you are deeply loved. Sometimes you might think spiritual growth is just an external test of your goodness, a checklist of right and wrong deeds. Whether your words sound perfect or clumsy, or if you can maintain a good enough image to protect your reputation. You only see the surface of things and ask yourself, did I act right? Did I save face? Then I prove I wasn't the one who messed up, my child. True refinement shows your path, not cosmetic goodness. I'm not asking you to stand in front of a mirror to judge your outward holiness. I'm inviting you to kneel. Look deep below the surface to see if your heart wants to run to me or just protect itself. When people misunderstand you, you'll find out if you react in anger or lean toward my peace. That single trembling moment, when your soul hesitates, reveals your true path, not the perfect words you say when everything is calm. Think of a rough, unpolished stone. From the outside, it looks cold, rough, and completely lifeless. But when a patient hand presses it against the grinding wheel, spinning it over and over, that gray outer crust falls away to reveal hidden beauty. The wheel doesn't make those patterns refining, just brings them out. Your soul works the same way. I don't use struggles to invent character. I use hard times to reveal which way your heart has actually been leaning. An angry person will feel their temper flare, but a patient soul will watch peace glow like a soft candle in the dark. Those who run will feel the urge to escape, but those who return will grow quiet and remember me. No test is wasted, my child, because inside the friction you finally realize who is leading you, your wounded ego or my gentle voice. I know you want to be right. You think if you can just prove your innocence, the deep pain will finally go away. But defending yourself is just scratching the surface. It's not who you really are. When people misunderstand you, your mind instantly wants to fight back and scream, "That's not true." But I don't need you to win. I'm just asking you to pause and turn back to me. What matters to me isn't winning an argument they will never understand. I want you to make room for me to step into your swirling emotions. When you finally stop, not because you lost, but because you choose to, you lift your heart out of that survival mode and place it in my hands. I never grind to destroy you. I shape you to reveal your true self. I want you to see what was buried beneath your defensiveness. Whether you are looking for peace within yourself or deep in me, my child. There are times you'll say I did everything right. So why do they still misunderstand me, Father? Doing the right thing doesn't always bring applause. Sometimes it leads you straight into the quiet wilderness where only you and I are left. Hard times don't test if the world cheers for you. They test where you look when the whole world turns away. In those moments when you are deeply hurt, I don't look to see if you strike back. I watch how you breathe. I look to see if you're waiting for a chance to defend yourself or if you're resting in the peace I offer. I watch to see if you enter that secret place simply to let your tears fall in my presence, or if you rush into battle just to force everyone else to bow down. Every breath you draw in hard times tells the true story of your soul, my child. When you view your struggles as an invitation instead of an enemy, you find a quiet grace. Every trial is a lamp shining deep inside your soul so I can reveal myself to you. Right here, you are still relying on your own strength. You fear human judgment more than losing my presence. You are chasing victory here instead of searching for peace. I never force your soul into an unnatural shape. I only touch the places that are tight. Like an artisan carving stone to reveal its hidden veins, every line tells the story of your heart. When you let me polish you, those deep scratches never lessen your value. They simply reveal the character I built inside you. This is why I do not rush to quiet every rumor, clear up every misunderstanding, or shield you from every blow. I allow hard times so you can look inward, not to judge yourself, but to see that you only stand firm when you lean on me. Sometimes you will feel completely cornered. Harsh accusations rain down like invisible stones. Every sharp word, cold look, or unfair assumption makes you want to defend yourself. You want to explain, fight back, and build a massive wall of arguments to block out the pain. But my child, that exact moment is where your destiny changes. It is not when you win the debate or force people to apologize. It is when you stay quiet under fire and choose deep peace over self-protection. When your instincts scream to fight back, but your quiet soul whispers, "Stay in me." Right then the tide shifts. Even if you cannot see it, many people think destiny only changes through massive, dramatic choices. They look for flashing lights and public victories. But destiny usually turns on a tiny moment. Nobody else notices: a quiet breath, a simple surrender, a gentle nod to my calling. It is that single moment you refuse to prove yourself. No one applauds when you choose quiet peace. No one hands you a trophy for enduring a lie without fighting back. But I see, and the spiritual world sees in that quiet space. Your destiny begins to steer away from the noisy highway of the ego. That quietness is never defeat. It is the empty room you make for me to step in. Remember this, my child, silence is not surrender or running away. Quietness is not a sign of weakness. It is the brave choice of a soul that knows I am your safe refuge. I am your shield, not your defense arguments. Staying quiet to save face brings stress, but staying quiet to protect your peace brings us closer. You do not have to win the argument for me to hold you. You just have to come back to me to be protected. The quiet rest you choose in that tiny moment sends a signal to the spiritual realm that you are finally leaning on me. Once you stop carrying it all yourself, I can step in. I understand the deep sting of being misunderstood. It feels like a tiny, deep wound. It hits the secret places nobody else sees: your dignity, your honor, and your deep desire to be known. When people lie about you, it feels like your real self is being erased from the life you actually live. But my child, your worth does not live in their words. It lives in where you run when you are hurting, when you want to fight back, but choose peace. Your destiny shifts in the quiet, not because of some massive act, but because you made room for me to move. I can only work with what you let go of. The moment you quiet your voice to guard your peace, I take control. I open doors to change things that seemed completely set in stone. That silent surrender is the moment you truly grow up in me. Quietness is no longer a heavy, choking burden, but a realization that you do not need to correct everyone to find peace. You simply choose peace so your heart can rest safely in my hands. You have no idea how one unspoken word can rescue you from 1,000 wrong turns down the road. That single choice to walk away from an argument protects your heart from pride and bitter thoughts. No one else is tracking these victories, but I am. I write them down by gently reshaping your future quietly, like a stream changing its path when a tiny pebble falls into the water. When hard times hit, many people view struggles as a life sentence. They think their future is locked, that hardship is poured out on them like concrete that cannot be reshaped. They panic, they fight back, or they just give up. But listen, my child, struggles are not the roof of your destiny. They are chances for us to write the next chapter together. I did not finish writing your life story only to shut the book and leave you to suffer alone. I put the pen back in your hand so we can write this story together, line by line, step by step, breath by breath. My plan is the foundation, but your response is the living ink that brings it to life. Your life is not a book already finished and printed. It is an open diary where every struggle is a calling, not a dead end. Think about a potter. When the clay is tough and dry, he does not smash it with a hammer to make it bend. He cradles it in his palm, dipping it into water over and over, turning, pressing, gently coaxing out its curve. Dipping the clay isn't a sign of weakness. It's necessary to soften it so it can find its true shape. The same goes for your soul. Your trials aren't meant to break you, but to plunge you back into my waters, the waters of faith, listening, and surrender. Whenever you face hard times, I bring you back to the source of life, never to destroy you, but to soften you so I can recreate the beautiful design I saw before you ever opened your eyes. Every turn, every squeeze, and every spin of the wheel isn't punishment. It's the rhythm of co-writing. You let me touch your heart, and I let you respond. You might think your struggles are just situations designed to make you suffer. But my child, trials reveal our partnership. When pushed to your limits, you choose to hold on or let go, to react or pause, to prove yourself or return to peace. Each of these choices is a stroke of the pen. Some hardships make you step back while others drop you to your knees. But no choice is ever wasted when you place it in my hands. When you say, "I don't understand, but I still trust you," a new line is written. The same happens when you say, "I'm hurt, but I won't be bitter." The clay is shaped when you whisper, "Stay with me," and I dip you back into the water. A soul isn't built on easy, flat days. It's molded when my hand meets yours in the storm of the spinning wheel. I know you've wondered, why didn't you make me perfect from the start? Why not create me without all these rough, sharp edges? But without that roughness, my child, if I made you perfect instantly, you'd just be a product. You would never become a masterpiece. A masterpiece is special because it carries the mark of every return and the touch of every gentle correction. Every single time it welcomed the softening water, and every moment it didn't resist when the potter's hand reshaped the areas you thought were already set in stone. I don't just care about the final result. I love the journey of touching you, changing you, and growing together. Every struggle is just my footprint left upon your soul. It isn't a wound, it's a fingerprint. When you let me touch your life, the clay is never ruined. Instead, it is raised into a beautiful new shape. But don't misunderstand me, child. I never force you onto the spinning wheel. I will never force your head down to make you bow. I simply invite your cooperation the exact way a potter invites clay to be dipped in water. If the clay turns hard, the potter doesn't smash it. He just stops his hands. I work the exact same way. I never force your heart to soften. I wait patiently until you are ready. Some people take years to realize they've grown dry and rigid. Only when they're so exhausted that their tears speak for them do they finally see that my water is a blessing, not a weakness. When you step into hardship with a heart ready to respond, remember, I am not standing far off just watching you. I place my hand into the very center of your world to reshape your true destiny right alongside you. It's not a future where I do everything for you, but a destiny we share. I write my chapter, and you write yours. I hold all that we have written together, keeping your growing soul safe. Some people expect my calling to arrive like a raging fire on a mountain, or like loud thunder ripping through the heavens, like some massive miracle that shakes their entire world, forcing them to bow down with no choice but to surrender. They crave a dramatic sign to wipe away all doubt, some blinding moment to prove without a doubt that I am speaking. But child, I don't usually call you through the fire. Instead, I call through the quiet moments of your day. I don't want you only hearing my voice when your whole world is shaking, like a soft nudge of regret in your heart when you speak too sharply, or a quiet thought prompting you to forgive. That gentle wave of peace settling over you right when you want to lash out, a quiet whisper in your mind saying, just pause for a second. These moments aren't random accidents. They are how I gently knock at your heart's door, little by little, my child. I know you've gotten used to waiting for loud signs. The world loves loud, flashy things, the bold statements and dramatic words designed to impress. It makes you feel like I must shake the earth or send a massive sign just to get you to take me seriously. But true greatness doesn't have to shout to be noticed. It only requires you to be quiet enough to hear it. I don't want your faith relying only on huge milestones, big victories, or sudden shocks. I want you to recognize my presence even in the most ordinary quiet seconds. Like when you open your eyes each morning, when you smile at a stranger, or when you hold back a harsh reply, when you choose to read just one line of scripture instead of scrolling mindlessly through your phone. These quiet moments are the lifelines I throw down for you. No need to wait for a blazing fire. Remember those times when you walked through deep hardship, but instead of breaking your soul, felt strangely still. In that quiet space, I called out to you, not to push you into battle, but simply to say, I am here. When you are torn between two paths, one of sharp words and the other of gentleness, and you choose the softer path, my child, that is not because you suddenly became holy. That is a spark I placed inside your heart, helping you spot the light in a moment, hidden from everyone. I do not scream to be heard. I lean close to the space where you cannot hide a thing. The place with no masks, no audience, and no pressure to perform. Many souls ask, why do you not call me more clearly? Why do you not give me a massive sign so I will not get lost? But my child, if I called out to you in fire, you would only wake up when the flames raged. You would only look for me during the storms, and when things got quiet, you would fall back asleep. I speak in quiet whispers because I want you living awake every single day, not just alert during the biggest moments. A strong spiritual walk is not built on mountain peaks, but through endless tiny choices to turn toward me. Just as the physical body is not fed by one giant artery, but by thousands of tiny vessels reaching every corner, I do not want your soul relying on a single burst of sudden inspiration. I want you fed by the quiet connection that constantly flows between your heart and mine. My dear child, I send these signs not to test your mind, but to set your heart free. I want you to find me not just in massive moments, but in the quiet details. Once you learn to hear me in the small things, you will face the big moments without any fear. When you get used to the quiet whisper, you will not need thunder to know I am speaking. And when you realize I live in your everyday routine, your destiny will not feel like some sudden mountain peak, but as a long path made of 1,000 tiny signs nudging you in the same direction. Many people think that working with me must always look like some grand historic event, heroic vows, or sudden changes that hit like lightning. They believe I only value the explosive moments, a deep promise, or a massive spiritual breakthrough, some bold decision made in front of everyone. But my child's simple daily consistency is what truly lasts. Not because it looks flashy, but because it fills your daily routine, your breathing, and those moments when you are exhausted. Tiny choices made in secret carry far more weight than a loud public promise everyone cheers for. A quiet yes to me at sunrise means more than a loud vow before a crowd. Think of a single drop of water hitting a stone. No solitary drop can leave a mark on its own, but the steady, endless dripping slowly carves a path. Your quiet consistency works the exact same way. A simple prayer before bed, putting your phone down just to sit with me, a quiet pause when you choose not to snap back, feeling thankful for something tiny. To the world, these are just simple drops of water. Nobody notices every single drop, but over time they completely reshape the solid stone. The spiritual world does not applaud loud, flashy displays. It honors what you repeat day after day in quiet faith. I do not measure you by how massive your promises are, but by how you keep showing up when nobody is there to cheer you on. Steady daily consistency feels draining because it never gives that sudden feeling of winning. There are no drums beating, no praise, and no awards. You might wonder if any of this actually matters. Right then, your pride finds a way to slide in, whispering that only the big flashy stuff truly matters. But my child, I do not live on a stage, I dwell in the deep. I do not mold your soul with loud praise, but through a quiet, steady heartbeat. You can easily do a massive favor on a sudden wave of emotion, but keeping up with small, quiet acts over time lets me get truly deep inside your heart. Walking with me is no sudden heavy wind. It is a river flowing without end. It is silent, but relentless. Some mornings you will wake up feeling completely empty. No clear vision, no fire, and no extra strength. You only have exhaustion, a heavy to-do list, and a soft whisper, do not forget me. And if you say to me on that hard day just once, I am still here, that means far more than 100 promises made when life is easy. You might think walking with me is always filled with high emotion, but real partnership is built during those dry seasons of life. When your heart keeps holding on to me, even when you see no immediate reward, that is exactly where your path starts to shift. Not with a heavy hammer, but through the soft, quiet touch of simple daily discipline. My dear child, I never asked you to be perfect. I do not ask you to reach new heights every day. I only ask that you walk back step by step. Consistent faith might tire your body, but it is the exact language that heaven understands best. Darkness fears you not for your strength, but because you refuse to give up. Every time you push forward with a brief prayer or choosing quiet silence over anger, taking a single breath to return, you declare that your heart no longer belongs to the dark. And when you do this day after day, we carve a brand new path into your destiny. There are moments you feel completely exhausted because nobody notices your hard work. You believe your silent struggles, your moments of holding back, and those tears only I see are all completely pointless. You desperately want someone to validate you, to say you are changing and walking on my path. You are begging for proof. But my child, I move in secret spaces because you have nothing to prove to me. I do not crave human approval. I never judge a soul by the standards of the crowd, and I do not need proof to know you are mine. I see the seeds you plant in the dark. That hidden place is where I work, far from the praise and applause of others. Nobody knows you chose the right path when you were completely alone. Just look at the roots buried deep underground. Nobody watches them grow. No one sees each small fiber fighting through the tough dirt, and there is no one there to cheer them on. Yet it is those very roots, not the trunk, that feed the entire tree. The trunk merely stands in the light. The blossoms show off their bright colors and the fruit hangs in the open, but the roots silently drink life from the dark. No noise, no grand show, no applause, just quiet, steady endurance. I work the exact same way, my child. I do not pour my blessings into what you show the world. I breathe life into your hidden spaces, because I know that fame cannot nourish a tree, only the roots can. Many souls believe that if they change, everyone must witness it. If I love, someone has to notice. If I walk uprightly, someone should validate it. But my child, external validation cannot nourish your soul, only my presence can. I do not shape your destiny on a stage, but in the deep. When you forgive without needing any recognition, or choose quiet peace instead of hitting back. When you kneel and pray for those who hurt you without waiting for an apology. In that exact moment, your roots anchor deep into me, completely unseen. But that is where your destiny begins to shift. I work at the root because I know true life flows from there. You often ask why I do not place you in the spotlight so you can show everyone that you belong to me. If I lifted you up while your roots were still fragile, the first harsh wind would snap you. I love the dark soil because it builds real spiritual resilience. Light is beautiful, but it can only build upon a strong root. The world desperately wants you to shine, but I want you to truly live. I do not place you before crowds to lecture them about faith. I keep you grounded deep in the soil so true faith can saturate every fiber of your soul. I demand absolutely nothing from you. I only want you to keep drinking the living water I pour out. My beloved child, do not view this hidden season as a failure. Do not mistake my silence for abandonment. When I move in the unseen, I am working at my deepest, like a gardener healing roots after a violent storm. I never fix the trunk first, I heal the roots. If your roots are strong, your tree will always stand tall. Once the roots discover the water, the leaves will naturally flourish again. I am not trying to impress the world, I am saving your soul. You have absolutely nothing to prove to me. I have known your heart since the moment I formed you in your mother's womb. I do not ask you to impress me. I only want you to take root. Some people believe their spiritual calling only begins when they are strong, confident, and capable enough to show the world that they finally deserve it. They gather accolades like soldiers putting on armor, standing on a stage, waiting for human praise to validate their journey. But my child, your calling is not born from proving your worth. Calling begins the moment you learn how to return. I do not use perfect people. I use those who simply know the way back to me, hearts that stop seeking applause and search for peace in my presence. That is the true foundation of your calling. I do not recruit heroes, I send those who know they need me. You might ask, how perfect must I be to serve you? How many battles must I win? How much weakness must I hide? How many people have to see my transformation? But my child, I never wait for you to prove yourself. I only wait for you to return. And that return is not some dramatic, highly emotional moment or a grand declaration in front of crowds. It is the quiet, fragile journey I have led you through. Every time you stay silent when others misunderstand you. Every single time you choose mercy instead of getting even. Every time you lay your painful tears on my altar instead of turning them into weapons of anger. When your heart learns to run back to me in the smallest storms, that is when you step into the soil where your calling takes root. Think of a lost child. They do not only become my child once they finally reach home. They are mine even in the deepest darkness, but only when they return do I set them to work. Not because I doubt their worth, but because their heart has softened enough for me to finally guide and shape them. A divine calling is not for a soul still struggling to prove its worth. That soul is still too busy defending its own ego. Purpose belongs to the soul that has surrendered its pride, not out of weakness, but because it has tasted the peace of belonging to me. Once you return, your heart stops fighting for attention. It begins to truly live, reflecting my light to the world. I do not ask you to step into your calling carrying the heavy baggage of self-strength. I only ask for your devotion. Anyone who feels they must constantly prove their value will eventually break down on this journey. They are always measuring themselves against the expectations of others. But the soul that knows how to return remains completely unshaken. They do not walk to gather trophies, but to stay in step with my heart. Your true calling is never a stage for performance. It is simply a path where we walk together. Others might not notice your steps, but heaven registers every moment of your journey back. A soul that understands surrender goes much further than one driven by ambition. That is because it no longer hungers for victory. It only needs me. My child, as you search for your purpose, pay close attention to what your heart truly desires. If you chase recognition, you will only grasp at shadows. If you seek human approval, you will bend your life to please them. But if you seek me, I will guide you into a position that no one can steal. A calling is never an earned achievement. It is my own heartbeat echoing inside your soul. I never call you just so you can prove how valuable you are. I call you to be a bridge connecting my love to the many souls who are still lost and wandering. You cannot guide others home if you do not know the path yourself. You can only lead after you have first been led. Some people believe that to guide others they must speak with grand, powerful words, that they must master persuasion and carry sharp arguments to conquer doubting minds. They assume spiritual influence is all about eloquent, smooth presentations and loud, booming messages. But my child, true leadership is not about speeches. It is about a life lived in harmony with me. Words might stir someone temporarily, but a quiet, aligned life changes their direction forever. It is never clever rhetoric that draws people to my presence. It is the deep peace you carry. They are not moved by a sermon, but by watching you walk through life, unhurried, humble, and completely free from fear. When your soul rests in me, you naturally become a mirror instead of just another speaker. And a mirror has no need to speak to reflect light. A lamp does not exist to debate with the dark. It simply has to shine. Passerby might not stop to offer praise, but the quiet light changes them anyway. Their eyes strain less, their steps falter less, their hearts fear less. You bring that same comfort when you live in me. You do not have to struggle to make an impact. My living presence inside you is the impact. Sometimes just sitting beside an anxious soul makes them feel lighter without knowing why. Sometimes your quiet listening presence is all it takes to soften their troubled mind. Not because of your skills, not because you said the perfect thing, but because you hid yourself in me, letting my grace flow. Leadership is never about your effort, it is about my work through you. You might think you must teach, prove, or constantly correct others. But my child, I never sent you to manage other people's lives. I send you to simply live. When you live in union with me, you preach a message more powerful than any sermon. When you forgive others before they even ask you, show them that my grace has no conditions. When you meet hostility with gentleness rather than retaliation, you prove that true strength lies in peace, not force. When you get back up after stumbling without pointing fingers, you testify to my mercy. Every quiet act, every gentle response, and every calm step is a message. And that message does not need a microphone. It is written deep within the soul. There will be moments of discouragement when nobody seems to notice the life you are living. You will worry that if they do not hear your words, they will never change. But my child, real change does not happen in the noise. It happens when someone notices your different life and asks, why are they different? I do not use you like a loud drum. I use you like a gentle stream. A drum startles, but a stream awakens thirst. When you rest in me, you do not try to impress. You awaken a deep spiritual longing, and that desire opens their hearts to me. Not because you are a perfect moral example, but because you witness to a peaceful rest the world simply cannot create. Remember, beloved child, a life lived in harmony with me is never a performance. It is not a mask of righteousness worn for the crowd. It is the natural outflow of a soul that knows its way home. People might forget your words, but they will never forget the peace they felt around you. They can argue with your logic, but they cannot deny the spirit I pour out through your silence. So you do not need to fight for leadership. I only want you to rest in my presence. When you abide in me, striving stops. You do not just lead, you become the path. Some believe a calling must be a massive banner unfurled across the sky, a loud public title that commands immediate respect from everyone. They keep waiting for a blinding flash of light or some massive event to prove I have chosen them. But my child, your calling rarely arrives like a blazing fire on a mountain peak. Instead, it reveals your destiny like a quiet stream carving through cracked dirt, silent but unstoppable. It does not start when you receive a title. It begins when your heart aligns so deeply with mine that my presence simply spills out of you completely effortless. That is when the thirsty souls around you start finding refreshment without even realizing why. Think of a tiny spring in a wasteland. It does not roar or cause a flood. It never brags. It just keeps flowing drop by drop, breath by breath. People might step right over it, but the earth cannot ignore it. Every inch of soil it touches changes color. The grass along its banks springs to life, and every weary creature that tastes the water is instantly revived. Your soul works the exact same way. Walking in your calling is not about performing miracles, it is just letting me flow through you. A soft reply during a screaming match. Quiet peace in the middle of chaos. A gentle look when anger flares, that is living water. No one ever hears a stream speak, yet everyone admires the garden blooming around it. You might think your calling is about fixing, teaching, or saving others. But hear me, child, your calling is not an action. It is a quiet current. When people draw close, they are not stepping into you, they are stepping into me. Loud shouting will never prove your destiny. Your path is cleared by your willingness to be a conduit between heaven and earth. Rest in me and let me move the waters. You only need to get out of the way. Stop trying to be the source I already am. Just keep your heart open, humble and completely clear of pride, uncomplicated and flowing steadily back to me. People will not praise your title. Instead, they will wonder, why do I feel so safe near them? Why do I want to change my life after talking to them? Why does my heavy heart feel so light? That is a signature no one can fake. Anyone can put on a religious show, but living water cannot be counterfeited. When you are aligned with my heart, you do not have to beg people to come. They will naturally gravitate toward you like grass seeking water. They will come not because they agreed with your arguments, but because they felt the supernatural life overflowing from your deep roots. In that moment, your divine destiny is revealed. Not because you climbed to some high status, but because you became a pathway. Your mission is no longer a stressful checklist you must complete. It becomes a breathing atmosphere of grace around you. And the more people touch that stream, the more beautiful gardens will start to bloom. Not because you fought to fix them, but because you simply stopped blocking my living water, my beloved child. This is the truly beautiful purpose of your calling. Not to make you famous, but to sweep other souls into the current of my love until they become living springs themselves. Many believers assume the journey of faith is just a private conversation between them and me. They think our walk only happens in the quiet spaces of their heart, where they listen, learn, and survive. They face hardships all alone, believing that is the only way to unlock their destiny. But my child's spiritual partnership is not just between you and me. It is the harmony of countless souls running toward my heart. A single scattered stream cannot make a river. Only when they merge can the dry ground drink and the barren fields come alive. I place you in a community of faith not to swallow your identity, but to show you that divine destiny never flows through isolation. It is amplified when your heart beats in rhythm with others who are searching for the very same source. Think of a forest after a heavy rain. No single tree hoards all the water for itself. Every trunk takes what it needs, then shares the rest with the soil, the roots, and the breeze. The true beauty is not the lonely trees standing apart, but the shared rhythm of the whole forest. A community of faith is exactly the same. You do not have to fight to lead. You only need to stay connected to the flow of those who are also listening for my voice. When one soul falls weary, another lifts them up. When someone feels empty, others keep them from breaking. No single person has the strength to carry the whole load, but we can each hold a small corner of light. And when those tiny lights stand together, the darkness has nowhere left to hide. There will be times when I surprise you completely. You whispered to let someone else answer that prayer. Not because you are weak, but because I am teaching you that your calling is never meant to be lived alone. One soul walking alone might keep its own peace, but a family of believers returning to me can preserve peace for an entire generation. True unity does not need loud speeches or flashy promises. It only takes hearts that see each other's weakness and refuse to walk away. Not everyone is strong. Some only have enough strength to hold a single candle. Yet that tiny flame placed beside others becomes a light that storms cannot easily blow out. My child, walking together in faith is not about standing up and claiming you know me better than anyone else. It is found in simple, quiet gestures, like whispering a prayer for someone who can no longer pray for themselves. It is a look of grace when they have lost their way, a patience that waits when they struggle, and a quiet, peaceful reminder that coming back to me is the only road that leads to true life. When you live this way, you stop building walls. Instead, you build bridges, and where there are bridges, my spirit can move much more freely, reaching the tired souls who still cannot find the strength to call my name. My beloved, being part of a spiritual family does not erase who you are. It is the very place where your true self becomes clear. On your own, you might think you are completely whole. But when you walk with others seeking me, you will notice broken pieces in your heart you never saw before. True community does not make you weak, it makes you humble. And that humility opens doors of purpose I have waited so long to unlock. Your future is never woven by a single thread. It is braided together by your thread, theirs, and my own, which I weave in daily. Some groups gather only to gain influence and power. They look at fellowship as a strategy, a way to face the world with loud voices and sheer numbers. But my child, a true fellowship of souls is not built on human strength. It is where my presence is amplified. When 2 or 3 gather in my name with one spirit, the power does not come from their friendship or agreement. It comes because I step into their midst. A simple crowd only joins its own limitations. But where I am, people rise far beyond their own human limits. True fellowship is not just holding hands, it is hearts opening up a quiet space for me to enter. And through those small openings, my blessings pour out onto the dry ground beneath you. Think of how raindrops fall on a roof. A single drop is just water, and its sound is too quiet to ever be noticed. But when they gather, a stream forms, washing away the dust and completely cleansing everything it touches. A community of believers works the exact same way. None of you need to be a rushing waterfall. Every single drop of peace, prayer, and patience is enough to form a river when joined with another. Your weary prayer might only be a quiet whisper, but when it meets someone else's prayer, it becomes a powerful current flowing straight to me like a stream rushing to the ocean. In that space, I do not just hear one lone voice. I hear a single powerful heartbeat. Many think fellowship only works when everyone is strong. But my child, the power of community is not found in resilient people standing side by side. It is found when weary souls stand among those who know how to seek my face. A tired heart does not need to be pushed uphill. They simply need a safe place to lay their heavy burdens down without judgment. Someone struggling with doubt does not need to be forced into faith. They need a quiet space where others can believe on their behalf. Fellowship is not a place where everyone has to be perfect. It is a refuge where your broken edges are gently covered, where wounds do not push you away but remind you that I am still healing you. My child, I do not call you together to make noise in the world. I call you to create resonance in the unseen. Being united in me is not about being more persuasive to the world. It keeps you steady against harsh winds you could never face alone. Think of a tree in a forest. It handles storms differently than a lone tree on a hill. The forest tree is not stronger because its roots run deeper. It survives because the wind is softened as it passes, broken by the trunks surrounding it. Not every tree is strong, but standing together keeps the storm from breaking them one by one. My spiritual family is no different. There are times you just need to stand among people who know how to seek me, not to lean on them entirely, but so that the fierce storms of life no longer hit you directly. And then, my beloved child, walking in fellowship does not just change how you survive trials. It changes how I show myself to you. I do not appear where a lonely soul is busy trying to prove its own strength. I show up where hearts admit they cannot stand alone. When you gather with one another, not for status or personal gain, but out of a deep hunger to rest in my presence, I'll build a sanctuary where darkness cannot enter. Not because the people there are perfect, but because everyone is choosing to turn back to me. In that sacred space, I do more than protect each soul. I guard a whole territory belonging to those who open their hearts to me together. Sometimes you might think your destiny is just a private journey. How you grow, how you overcome hard trials, and how you hear my voice in the dark nights. You walk with me in an intimate conversation, two souls connected. You follow, I speak, you respond, I light the path, and you take the next step. But my child, your destiny does not end there. When you learn to partner with me in quiet peace and hidden service, destiny stops being a garment tailored only for you. It becomes a road stretching out behind you. Not because you want to lead, but because every step you take leaves a clear path for those who are not yet strong enough to hear my voice. You walk ahead not for honor, but so others can see that hope is still real in their daily lives. Think of a narrow trail winding through a deep forest. The first person to cross does not think about making a path. They are just trying to find one, ducking under sharp, thorny branches. They step carefully on the slippery mud and pause when they cannot see what lies ahead. But when the next person arrives, they do not have to battle the wild brush. They simply follow those faint footprints. They recognize a path that was chosen before them. They realize this hard terrain can actually be crossed. And so it is with you. When you walk with me and endure heavy trials without running away, you clear a path. Others might never know your name or the scars you carry, but they will sense that what once looked like a dead end still has a way through. In this way, your life story, though never praised in public, becomes a quiet map for seeking souls. Your purpose does not lie in flashing, blinding lights. My child, it lies in how I use you to reach others. Some will never hear my voice through the storm, but they will see your inner peace during their own tempest. Some will not understand me by reading scripture, but they will understand my love through the way you live. Some are wounded so deeply, they no longer believe in kindness, but they will soften when they meet your gentleness. You are not meant to replace me as their savior. You are called to walk beside me, helping them believe my door of grace is still open. When a wounded soul turns back because of your presence, your true purpose has stepped far beyond the borders of your personal story, becoming a bridge for the next generation. My child, do not think the generation behind you only means your own flesh and blood. That generation is every hurting soul that cannot yet stand on its own. Every person beaten down by life, everyone who thinks they have fallen beyond my grace, they are walking behind you. When they see you refuse to take revenge, when they see you rise again after bitter disappointment, protecting true peace instead of your own ego, they won't ask how you did it. They will ask, why is this person so different from us? And in that very question, I reveal my love. When joined to mine, your life becomes like the first drop of rain. Not the biggest, but the one that turns the dry ground a deeper shade. Soon more drops will follow. What was once barren will become a blooming garden. My beloved child, I trust you with this path. Not because you are perfect or rare, but because I know you are willing to step forward. Your courage is not meant for show. It is an invitation to trembling souls. You are not a massive lighthouse on a peak shining over the entire sea. You are simply someone who was once lost. And because of that, my light in you points the way for others who are wandering. Your true calling does not ask you to stand alone on a high peak. It calls you to clear a path so a long line of people can safely cross. And as they walk, you will realize this journey was never just about you and me. It is the movement of my grace through the generation I am leading, step by step, following your footprints. There are words I will never speak to you amid the applause of a crowd. I do not speak when you are trying to prove your strength or striving to look wise. My child, my deepest words come only when you stop performing for others. They are spoken when the surface of your soul finally softens, when you let go of the need to impress and stop trying to look spiritual in the eyes of others. I do not call you to show off. I call you to be completely real, like stepping outside after a long day with only the quiet sound of your breathing. That is where I find you. My deepest words are never spoken on a stage. They are whispered in the stillness where no one else knows you are tired, fragile, and thirsty. In those quiet evenings when you have no roles left to play, I see the real beautiful soul you are. There is no sermon here, no audience, and no judging eyes, just you and me. You can just rest without using fancy prayers, only letting one simple word slip out. Please stay with me. Do not leave me all alone, my child. I hear that whisper clearly, far better than any rehearsed prayer. I am not waiting for some perfectly worded request. I am just waiting for your heart to drop its guard. I do not want your soul wearing a mask of holiness. I want to feel how much you actually need me, not how much you think you are supposed to. You might wonder why your biggest breakthroughs do not happen while listening to famous preachers or sitting in packed churches. Those events might wake you up, move you, or spark your mind. But true spiritual growth does not come from someone else. It happens when I unlock a door within you, one that only opens when you have absolutely no one left to impress. Just like a little child resting against their father's shoulder in the darkness, needing no words, only wanting to feel safe, that is when I whisper secrets I never share during the day. Not because I keep quiet in the daytime, but because the dark is when your heart finally stops hiding. My child, I see how hard you try to sound perfect when you pray. You hunt for the right words, trying to prove your deep faith. You want to show me how mature you are. But real spiritual maturity is never polished. It shows up when you drop your guard and stand before me exhausted, holding fears you cannot even name yet. In that quiet honesty, my voice is gentle as a breath, yet deep as a hidden river under dry ground. I do not teach you with dry theories. I reach you with one simple truth. Sometimes it is just this: you are still loved. The soul that hears this in the silent hours knows it is no mere lecture. It is true healing. So, my precious child, stop searching for me where you have to perform. Do not believe I only speak in noisy crowds or through perfect sermons. If you want the deep wisdom I keep just for you, come close when nobody else is looking. Let the darkness rest over you, not like a heavy blanket, but as a soft wrap I use to shield you from the loud world. Right there in secret is where I write the next chapters of your destiny. Not with loud thunder or flashy promises, but in quiet whispers only you can hear. Because your calling is not meant for the crowd. I speak it straight to the heart that knows how to sit with me. I know there are moments in your journey that leave others amazed. Times when they wonder why your path is so different. Why new doors swing open when you have no power or earthly connections. They assume it is just good luck, raw talent, or some smart plan. But I want to let you in on a secret. I work out your destiny in secret moments to keep you safe from pride. I never throw the precious pearls of my plans under the spotlight. Otherwise, public praise might trick you into thinking you did it all on your own. I move in the background when you are just living a normal, quiet life. When there is no stage, no bright lights, and no cheering crowd. In those quiet times, I adjust your course, gently shifting your path. Opening doors you never knew were there, saving you from the trap of thinking you can do it all by your own strength. Some of my greatest miracles start in tiny moments, like when you choose to forgive instead of getting even, when you work hard to keep the peace, when you pray sincerely for the person who hurt you, not out of your own strength, but because you trust me to heal the broken parts. Nobody else sees those moments. The world never builds monuments for that. Yet those hidden seeds are exactly what shift the course of your life. Just like a farmer who plants a seed in the dark soil without taking pictures, without calling friends to watch or making a scene, I use quiet spaces to shape your choices. Because when nobody is watching, your love for me is real, not just a show. When your heart turns toward me in the quiet, you are no longer trying to look good, and your future is set free from the trap of pride. My dear child, I have seen many gifted souls fail because they stepped into the spotlight way too early. They got promoted amidst loud applause, believing they did it all themselves. They thought their success came from their own smarts. They credited their strength to discipline, believing every door opened because they deserved it. When success comes too publicly, a person without deep spiritual roots uses that blessing to feed their own ego. But when I build your destiny in quiet hours through short prayers, by holding back your anger or deciding to make peace, you cannot brag about the win because you did not even realize I was guiding your steps. Pride can never take root in a soul that does not realize how its soil became fertile. I keep our quiet steps private so you remember grace is never earned by being great. It is simply the fruit of our connection. Look back, my child. Real breakthroughs rarely crash down like thunder. They are quiet like a soft breeze brushing over water, leaving no footprints at first. Often you only notice my protection after the danger is gone. You only realize a door was open when you are already walking through the third or fourth room. I design it this way not to stay far away, but because your heart must learn that faith is not a performance. Your purpose is not a trophy to show off, but a fresh spring to drink from. Resting in the cool shade, you will remember the water came from the source, not your own hands. I let my guiding hand move in quiet spaces where nobody is keeping score, so you will not use me to prove your own importance. Never lose heart when the good you do for me goes completely unnoticed. Never look down on quiet devotion. Every humble choice you make in secret builds a strong, unshakable foundation for your future. I move in the quiet, not to pull away, but to protect you from a spotlight that does not belong to you. Pride is the dark shadow that always tags along behind noisy victories. I guard you from that darkness. I need your heart tender so I can keep shaping your path. not a heart closed off by its own self-glory. Find peace in the hours no one else sees. That is where I speak to you, guide you, and give you blessings no one can steal. Sometimes you think you need a flawless plan to unlock your future. You think you must prove your faith with giant leaps or become strong enough for me to use. But my child, you only need to open up. I will handle the rest. Your path is built by letting go, not by constant straining. I do not ask for giant leaps. I just ask for honest steps. A simple whisper, a quiet pause to listen. Choosing not to abandon your peace. These are the keys to a life you thought was reserved only for the great. I do not judge you on your achievements. I look for a heart that simply knows how to respond. It is never about what you can achieve for me, but how much you let me build inside you. My dear child, many people shake with fear when the path is dark. They ask if I step out, who supports me when I stumble, who will rescue me, who will shield me. Picture this. Instead, a kind teacher gently resting his hand on the shoulder of an anxious student. The student has not learned everything yet and has not mastered the material or seen what lies ahead. But feeling that hand brings instant calm. The teacher does not demand a flawless performance before starting. He does not wait for the fear to pass. He rests his hand right there while the anxiety is still real. I do the same. I do not ask you to be strong before I walk with you. I touch your shoulder right when you shake, because strength does not come from you but from me standing right behind you. I know every single beat of your heart. Often you think that for me to move you must be in a perfect spiritual state, free from doubt, fear, or flaws. You imagine heaven only opens up if you sit the right way or quote the exact scripture or practice every religious ritual. But I meet you in the most ordinary, messy moments. I lean close to your heart when you simply whisper, "Please do not leave me." I hear you when you say softly, "I have no idea what to do." Those words are not signs of weakness, they are invitations for me to step in. If you could manage everything on your own, your soul would have no need for me. Your lack of strength becomes the empty space where I flow. When you open up that small gap of weakness, I carve a path of power. Do not see me as a boss demanding results. I come as a kind teacher who gently covers a child's shaking hands with my own. I do not force you into a perfect shape before I begin molding you. You do not have to prove your loyalty before I offer you my trust. My child, I see your heart learning how to turn back to me. That is what I love most. I am not looking for perfection, just openness. When you open up, I slip into that space like light through a cracked door, quiet and gentle. I am moving in places you would never guess. I am working in your exhaustion through sleepless nights, in awkward prayers, and when you choose silence just to keep the peace. You might think those moments are small, but to me, they are the first light of a new morning. So let me hold your hand. Even when you shake, let me touch your shoulder. Even when you doubt, you will stand strong. You only need to open your heart. I will handle everything else. I never lay the heavy burden of change on your small shoulders. I place it upon my grace, a grace deep enough to lift every soul who feels unworthy. My child, remember that I have gone before you. I walk beside you and follow behind. You do not need to see the entire road to keep moving. You only need to trust that I am placing my hand on your shoulder with every shaky step. And as you take each quiet step of faith, you will realize that your destiny is built on simple surrender, not raw strength. I have the absolute right to step into your path, but I hold back because I refuse to steal your freedom to grow. I did not design you to blindly follow orders, but to be a living soul who can choose, feel, and heal. I know you often wish I would shatter a dangerous path the moment you imagine it or pull you back before your foot slips. But my beloved, if I lived your life for you, you would no longer be yourself. I step back so you can keep the freedom to discover, to make mistakes, to learn, and to ultimately run back to my heart. Just like a loving father who knows his toddler is going to stumble during those first steps, but still refuses to tie them down to a chair. I let you walk not because I have left you, but because I respect you. Picture this. A dad watching his little one step onto the road alone. He knows the path has sharp rocks, holes, and unexpected turns. He follows closely behind, ready to catch them if a real disaster strikes, yet far enough to let them feel the joy of walking alone. If that father rushes over, scoops the child up into his arms, and carries them the whole way, they will never learn to stand. They will never feel the sting of a stumble or learn to watch where they place their feet. They will never balance in the wind or know when to step back. But when they trip, the father gently catches their back. He stops the fall without erasing the lesson. Understand this. That is how I am with you. I protect you, but I will not replace you. I can stop the spear, but I will not take away the lesson of the stone. My beloved child, you believe real love should have no limits. That if I love you, I should shield you from every pain. But love is not a canopy blocking every wind. It is a deep root that helps you stand firm in the storm. I do not rescue you from every trial just because it hurts. I stand beside you, so when you walk through the fire, you know you are not alone. If I constantly bent your destiny before you learned how to return, you would treat me as a tool to grant your wishes, rather than the guide who walks with your soul. I give you free will not out of indifference but because I trust you. I do not desire followers who obey out of fear. I want a child who walks with me out of love. I know there are moments when you cry out, "Why did you let this happen to me?" I hear that cry. I fully understand the trembling heart behind those broken words. But my child, if I took away all pain before you felt it, how would you see your own weakness? If I blocked every failure, how would you learn to rely on me? If my very breath removed every trial, how could you ever see the hidden corners inside your heart? Those broken spaces that desperately need my touch. I do not shield you from every impact just to make you comfortable. I save you in the midst of the collision so you will know I am your comforter. My presence in your pain is what makes you grow. So my child, when you see that I do not step in right away, do not think I am silent. I watch every move you make. I place my hand on the most critical moments, blocking the spear that would destroy your soul. But I do not remove the stone that bruises your knee. That bruise is what teaches you to pay attention. The spear would destroy you. I know the difference between the danger that ruins you and the trial that refines you. I stand between you and destruction, but I will never stand between you and growth. I hold back so you can keep the freedom to grow. Not because you have to rescue yourself, but so you can return to me with a heart that is completely free, not forced. Trust me on this. I respect you too much to turn you into a mindless robot that only follows orders. I gave you free will, deep dreams, emotions, fear, and courage. All so you can become a soul who walks beside me, not a shadow. I do not need servants. I want a relationship with you. And because you are my child, I protect you without taking your place. I guide you without crushing you. I shield you from the killing blow. Yet you must still walk the path. I do not expect you to throw the doors wide open overnight. I only need a tiny crack, a small space between your fear and your hope, between exhaustion and trust. My child, I will move heaven and earth as long as you keep that tiny space open for me. You think miracles only happen when you are strong, spiritual, and ready. But to me, miracles bloom from the smallest openings of your soul. A broken prayer, a quiet glance toward heaven when your heart simply runs out of words. A single tear that no one sees but I hear as it falls. I don't need perfection to heal your life. Just don't lock me out. There is a deep truth many souls miss. Darkness doesn't need to fill the entire room to take over. It only needs you to shut out the light. But my grace works the exact opposite way. I don't need to occupy your whole life to start restoring it. I just need one small opening. Like a drop of rain slipping through a cracked roof to reach dry ground. My light finds its way through every hidden fracture you don't even know is there. You might feel weak, confused, and doubtful. But if you still want me to enter, I will come. I don't stay outside because you lack the strength to open up. I stay outside only when you close yourself off. I'm not waiting for some grand gesture, just a tiny sigh of surrender. My child, you look at your life and ask why I don't do something to help you. Yet I am asking why you won't let me act. I never force my way in, nor will I ever break down the door of your soul. I won't tear down the walls you built for protection. I stand before the door you choose, not the one I might prefer. I respect your soul too much to invade it with raw power, even though I easily could. I shape your destiny through free will, not force the moment you leave the narrowest gap open. Choosing to forgive even while your heart still hurts. Whispering a prayer when your strength is completely gone. A faint cry asking me to stay. In that tiny opening, I see a vast field ready for planting. I work like a skilled doctor. I won't perform surgery on your heart while you are asleep in denial. I wait until you are ready to be healed. I don't stop the storm just because you are afraid. But I will shield you from the lightning if you keep even a finger inside my shelter. I cannot always erase the consequences of your mistakes, but I pour out grace wherever you choose to return. You often think I am standing still, but I am just waiting for a crack to slip through. Soften your bitterness, shift a thought, reignite a tiny spark of hope you believed was dead. You only see the mountaintop shaking, but I am working deep below, turning the very roots of your life in a brand new direction. So my child, don't think your return to me has to be some grand show. Don't believe that I'll only show up once you are strong enough. I'm not looking for grand towers of faith built to show off. I am searching for the narrow path you clear for me in the dark. If all you can whisper is help me, I will build a bridge. If you only have one breath left to say, stay with me, I'll turn that breath into life. If all you have left is a single fragile ray of light, I won't let it fade. I am the one who does the work as long as you let me touch even the tiniest corner of your soul. And in that tiny space, I'll do what you never thought possible. I will rewrite your destiny and heal generations, restoring what seemed dead, weaving back what was torn apart stitch by stitch, beat by beat. Soon you'll realize I never asked you to be the door, I only asked you not to lock it. Destiny isn't some cold sentence carved into your soul that you must follow out of fear. No, destiny is where my will meets your response. It's where two rivers merge to flow into the future, and I can see the entire road ahead. I see the broken pieces, the nights you will cry, and the exact words I'll use to lift you up. But I don't unfold your destiny simply because I want to. My child, it is fulfilled not by my will alone, but when you want it with me. I can map out the path, but your steps are what turn it into a real journey. I can spark the flame, but your breath makes it burn. I can open the door, but your gentle nod is what swings it wide open. Every single blessing you receive from me flows through the agreement of your heart. Not because I lack power, but because I respect your free will. You might ask, if I am almighty, why don't I just do it all without you? Because I'm not looking for a servant who just obeys. I am looking for a companion. I spoke the universe into existence, but I shape your destiny through your willing consent. Just like a teacher never forces a student by grabbing the pen from their hand, I will never steal your future from you. I simply place my hand on your shoulder and whisper, "Write with me." Sometimes your hand shakes and your lines are crooked. Sometimes fear makes you drop the pen. Sometimes you feel like you aren't wise enough to write something beautiful. But my child, I've never asked you to write alone. My help isn't here to replace you. I am laying down the foundation while you write the words. I set the rhythm. You simply add your voice to it. Too many people spend their whole lives waiting for a change to fall from the sky. They wait for a sudden miracle to rescue them from the story already written. But destiny never changes while you stay passive. It changes when your soul stands up and says, "What you desire, I desire with you." When those words rise deep within you, not just on your lips, but in the quietest room of your soul, heaven moves. I do not demand perfection. I only ask for your agreement. Whether you agree through tears, trembling, hesitant prayers, or quiet sighs of surrender, I receive every single one. Just refuse to lock the last door where I can enter. Because only when you choose me can destiny find soil to take root. My beloved child, look back at your life and remember the tiny moments that changed everything. One act of forgiveness, one midnight prayer, one quiet decision for peace instead of self-defense, one small unnoticed step of returning to me. That was not your own strength speaking, it was your consent. I laid my hand upon you and you opened your heart. I lit the spark, but you let the darkness retreat. I walked ahead and you chose to follow. You once thought I was dragging you, but the truth is I invited you and you responded. That fragile, genuine connection became the foundation where your destiny was written. Now that you understand this lesson, engrave it deep in your mind. I do not build your destiny alone. I write your destiny with you. When your journey draws to a close, no one will say you won because you were strong, nor will they say you saved your loved ones through some secret wisdom. You will stand before me and see the moments where I shattered destruction. In other places, I reopened, shut doors, erased sentences of doom, and turned the storm aside before it could ever touch you. But all of it started the moment you simply agreed to walk with me. Not with loud promises, but with a quiet whisper. Where you go, I will go. In that moment, destiny is no longer a shadow you fear. You step into it not as a captive dragged along, but as an heir. Remember, my child, destiny is not fulfilled by my will alone. It happens when your heart wills it with mine. When you say yes and trust, darkness loses its power over you. Tragedy loses its blade, and the lines of your past become the foundation for your testimony. You are not defined by the chapters behind you. You are defined by the author walking beside you. I will write with you until your story closes free from fear, safe in the glorious light I promised you from the beginning. I want you to realize my voice does not speak to make you afraid, but to place a key directly into your hand. You have heard of struggles of working together and of tiny choices that alter your destiny. Yet the core of everything is not knowledge, it is a heart that knows how to return home. I am not asking you to play the hero of your own story. I simply invite you to be a child who knows how to open up. Do not wait until you are perfect to seek me. Come to me when you are completely exhausted. That very weakness is the doorway through which I enter. You are not alone in trying to protect the ones you love. I stand right beside you, never against you. Just leave a small space open for me in your soul, and I will handle the rest, things you could never even dream of doing. When you choose to walk with me, destiny is no longer a dark shadow over your head. It becomes a shining light before your feet. Remember this, my child. When the night falls, you are not the one holding my hand. I am holding yours. Let us pray this together, Lord. Teach me how to return to you, not in a rushed panic or to show off my efforts, but in the quiet of my heart, learning to seek its source of light. Open my spiritual eyes to see that every return to you, no matter how small, is another step closer to the beautiful destiny you have prepared. Give me patience with my own slow progress, for I know that a river is not built by a single storm but by countless drops of water flowing faithfully in the same direction. Lord, deliver me from constantly craving dramatic breakthroughs and break the habit of waiting for some massive moment just to feel that my life has value. Help me see that destiny is not some spectacular destination, but a daily journey of small, gentle responses to you. When I feel too weak to take a leap, remind me that I only need to look at you. It is that simple gaze that keeps me standing firm amid the raging waves. Father, grant me a heart that returns to you even when my mind is flooded with doubt, when my emotions offer no comfort, and when my soul still feels restless. Remind me that returning to you does not have to be perfect, it only needs to be sincere. Every time I turn my heart back to you, let it be a stone laid in the foundation of my destiny, even if the rest of the world sees it as something small and insignificant. Lord, show me how to stand firm in spirit. Let me see that walking in destiny needs no loud fanfare, only that I accept your daily invitation. Protect me from comparisons that empty my soul, from restless ambitions that wear me out, and from fears that make me want to run. Teach me to quiet my mind, to listen when you speak, and to move whenever my heart hears your gentle call. Lord, help me focus on the path of coming back to you instead of staring at the place where I fell. When I am weak, do not let me believe I have failed. Remind me that one single step back to you holds more power than 1,000 steps running into the dark. Remind me that even when my tears fall, my return is still deeply precious in your eyes. Lord, help me realize you can change everything with a single breath. Yet you choose to move slowly because of your immense love for me. Fill me with gratitude for the waiting and for every moment you choose not to force or compel me, but instead use patience to guard the dignity you put in my soul. Teach me to value my freedom and offer it back to you. Lord, tune the strings of my heart like an artist tuning an instrument, gently with delicate care and endless patience. Whenever I go out of tune, touch me with tender mercy, not with anger or punishment. When I tremble, show me grace so I can hear your quiet voice. Teach me to place those strings back into your hands whenever I can no longer tune them myself. Lord, save me from the temptation of living only for intense, fleeting emotions. Remind me that my destiny is not kept alive by passing excitement, but by quiet, repeated choices of faith. Help me embrace the simple, ordinary days. It is in those quiet moments that you are gently shaping my life. Lord, give me the courage to keep my eyes on you instead of the howling wind when I step out of the boat trembling like Peter. Keep my focus fixed on you and not on the waves the moment I begin to sink. Pull me up not to judge me, but to show me the miracle lies in looking at you, not the water itself. Lord, help me value my journey. Let me never despise tiny choices, quiet prayers, or tired returns. Show me that these small drops are building the river of my destiny, and that you see what others easily miss. Lord, stop me from trying to rush this journey, or wanting to reach the end without learning how to return. Teach me to love the steady rhythm of my spiritual path, one that is slow, steady, and firm, so I stop chasing the highs of cheap emotion, and instead learn to walk by your side through every morning, every storm, and every quiet night. Lord, show me that destiny is not just about your power or my effort alone, but our hearts coming into agreement. Teach me to offer you a lifetime of surrender rather than a sudden burst of emotion. When I surrender the little that I have into your hands, turn it into something beautiful shaped by a wisdom far beyond my own understanding. Let me live in that deep, gentle harmony until my purpose is no longer just a distant dream, but a natural way of living with you. I pray this in the holy name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so we can continue to grow this strong community of faith.